Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Calder Broadcast. I'm your host, Will, and today I want to discuss something a bit more on the casual side of things, not so much on the apologetics track. Since there's no official church teaching on this that I could find, this is more my personal suggestion and my perspectives. Um, but first off, I just want to. It's kind of funny that I'm making this episode because I was at the gym this morning, and the guy sitting on the bench press right next to me has. It was really funny that I made this today, and I've had this script written for a while, and I decided I finally have to get it out today because of this. This guy was on the bench next to me, and he was putting up pretty heavy weights, and he had a Bible underneath his head. So sometimes when you bench, your neck can be sticking back a little bit, it can be uncomfortable. So you put something underneath your head when you're laying back to make it more comfortable. And this guy had a Bible behind him, and he had a shirt that said "Pray about it." And you know what? I was just like, you know what? That's a sign. I need to go ahead and get this officially recorded and put out soon. So that's what I'm doing today. The subject of today is going to be a couple of reasons why I think that Catholics should work out. Um, and another thing to note about this is that this video is open to anybody, and I feel that everyone should take this advice. However, men are going to resonate this to much more, and you'll see that as I go into detail. So, obviously, women, please listen, and everyone, if you enjoy it, like it, and subscribe to the channel. It's very helpful. However, this is definitely going to resonate more with men, but everyone check it out. Anyways, so without further ado, here are my reasons why Catholics should exercise. Number one, our bodies are temples for Jesus Christ. Let's take a look at the first book of Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 19. This verse reads, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own." And then it continues. Especially Catholics, since we consume Christ on a weekly basis in the sacrament of communion, our bodies are temples for Jesus Christ. Think of the kinds of buildings that kings live in. The Palace of Versailles, Buckingham Palace, or the White House for the US president. Offices of high respect have high living standards. Churches and all the cathedrals of old are built to be houses for God on earth. And for the most part, they are extremely gorgeous. Ignore whatever's happening in San Francisco. But they are all buildings fit for kings and buildings fit for royalty. I'll take a look at us Catholics. We receive and we consume Jesus Christ at every week, at least. We literally eat God. When our bodies are resting places for the literal king of the universe, I'd say we probably want that resting place to be good, keep it healthy and nice. Number two, we humans are both physical and spiritual beings. According to the Vatican II, the human person, though made of a body and soul, is a unity. So the word for this is called bicorporeal. And due to this, what we do with our bodies will affect our spiritual health and vice versa. What we do with our spirit will affect our physical health. And I can testify to this personally. It actually was my reversion back to the faith, or back to taking the faith seriously, since I never really was an atheist, that I began to exercise. So as I've started doing that, I've noticed my spiritual health increase exponentially. I'm happier overall. My prayer life is much more consistent, and I'm more confident in myself. Another thing that I will mention later is that this helps with vice and overcoming sinful temptations, but I'll get into that in a bit. So, physical health can lead to better spiritual health and vice versa. Third, it has really good health benefits. Life is good. It's the most fundamental gift given to us by God. We need to take care of that life, especially since it is given by God. It's a gift. Exercise plays a great role in that. And so does eating healthy and, taking care of yourself and interacting with others, but I'm sticking with just exercise today. I don't even need to cite studies to point something that's this obvious out, but I will anyways, just so I can build my credibility. According to the National Institute of Health, there's an overwhelming evidence and research to conclude that exercise gives you a longer lifespan. I will have that study linked in the description so you can go read for it yourself. I'm not going to go through all of the stats, but yes, exercise, eating healthy, all of this stuff expands your life, and that's good. So if you want to expand your life and take care of your body, exercise. Number four, being strong feels great. For those of you who already exercise, you know what I mean. Okay, most likely you already know this. The feeling that you can take on anything is immensely gratifying and fulfilling. Knowing that I can open a pickle jar because I exercise is awesome and really hopeful at home as well. Plus, knowing my home job, I have to lift particularly heavy weights, like a lot. It helps. It's really nice. It's really nice. Sorry. No, it's really nice. I love doing this. I love feeling strong. I love having that strength and knowing that I can do a lot of physical things with it. Number five, it helps a lot with vices. I mentioned this earlier, but this is much more specific. And I feel this is going to be more relatable to men than women, but I don't know because I'm not a woman. So women, maybe you resonate this with as well. But I'm sure that most men struggle with vice, in particular that one vice, that one dirty little one that starts with the letter P and ends with pornography. Believe me, I'm well aware. However, exercise is an excellent outlet to take that feeling out and temptation on. Okay, you're replacing something bad with something good. Do you feel the urge to give into a vice you're struggling with? Go run for a mile. Go lift some weights. That's my personal favorite exercise. This goes back to what I was saying earlier about our physical actions affecting our spiritual health. If you're avoiding sin and replacing it with something better physically, you bet that's improving your spiritual health. And in the reverse, to go back to my earlier point, as you build up physical strength, you're going to build your spiritual strength and help you overcome whatever temptations you're experiencing to sin. Number 6, the last good benefit I want to talk about of exercising is focused specifically for the men listening. Guys, we are supposed to be strong. Men are supposed to be strong, both in spirit and in body, and we're supposed to use that strength for good. That is useless if there is no strength to use in the first place. Think of some of the greatest men in history, okay? A physically weak individual probably wasn't the first one to come to your mind. Hell, even the greatest man of all time, Jesus Christ, was obviously spiritually strong because he was God. You can't get weakness from being God. Lucky him. I think he was a pretty physically strong guy too. I mean, his profession before he went on his ministry, he was a carpenter. Okay, working with all that wood and tools definitely helped him be a strong dude, like physically. Have you ever seen a carpenter? They got to be strong guys. A weak man would not have been able to carry that cross for that long, even if he fell a few times and needed help. But for us mere men, it takes a strong man to love God and an even stronger one to fight for him. You see, we men, we're meant to fight for something. Husbands, they fight for their wives and their families. Soldiers, they fight for their country and etc. It's one of those big things in life that gives us as a man a purpose. No fighter ever won a battle by being weak. If a man's going to fight for something, he better be strong enough to win. Now, I'm not going to say that physical fight is how you're going to be encountering this sort of duty, since physical fights themselves are pretty rare. But going back to what I said, physical strength correlates to spiritual strength, both of which are extremely important for fighters. So now that I've given you the reasons why you should exercise, let me give you a few things to avoid. Like all things, exercise is good in moderation. Well, I shouldn't say all things. Like all fun things, exercise is good in moderation, but there's definitely a way to make it twisted and bad in practice. So here's a few of those that you should keep an eye out for and try to avoid. Number 1, don't start to idolize yourself. Other words, don't fall into that vain mindset. Vanity is one of the 7 deadly sins. If you go too far, you start to fall into that little way you think. And full transparency, I'm going to be 100% honest. I struggle with this sometimes. I exercise regularly, and I'm proud of the progress I've made and how I look physically. But sometimes that can bleed into me over admiring how I look. It's good to admire your progress. It's good to see how you've improved. When you spend too long staring at your reflection, you start to get into dangerous territory. There's a Greek myth of a guy named Narcissus who thought he was so beautiful that he fell in love with himself, and he looked at his reflection days on end. In a pond, there was a reflection of himself, and he fell in and he drowned. Don't be like Narcissus. Number 2, on the other end of the spectrum, is comparing yourself to others. Especially in the age of internet and social media, looking at the posts of others and models and influencers, all of whom are super toned and have their massive six packs and slim bodies and stuff like that. Don't compare yourself to them. In fact, just get rid of social media altogether. Okay, just get rid of it all. It's all useless, okay? But that is a subject for another time. I'm not going to talk about that today. Hate to say it, but to look like those models forever is extremely, extremely difficult to attain. And even more than that, it's extremely unhealthy. Plus, most of the time it's fruitless to do, since all those pictures are definitely edited to make themselves look better. Exercise in the sense that I'm talking about here is not about looks, but about strength and health. I know plenty of people who are not ripped, but extremely strong. That's good. Number 3, don't forget God's place in it. Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. I do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, I know the original writing of this means the spiritual acts and the demands of starting the church, but it applies to exercise too. If you're going to exercise, you need to do that with the body that God gave you. On top of that, you're also going to need God's strength to do your best. Ask Him for it. He'll give it to you. On top of that, offer your exercises to Him. Exercise means suffering, even if it's on a much smaller scale than other sufferings. But offer that suffering to God, since He will turn it into your strength. With all that, that's all I really wanted to talk about today. So I really appreciate you listening, and I'm going to leave you with this message as I go. Log off, go exercise, and go to church. That's all I'm going to go. Have a good day. Go in peace.